Welcome to the story of blue, the color of calm, sadness, authority, and spirituality. On the visible light spectrum, blue has the shortest wavelengths, between 450 to around 495 nanometers. In contrast, red with its long wavelengths is the first color that our eyes perceive, whereas blue and violet are the last. In nature, blue is rare. That is because producing true blue pigments is chemically actually quite difficult. Many organisms don't have blue pigments at all. Rather, they manipulate light. After all, color is light. So on their skin, for example with birds and fish, they have nanostructures that are used to scatter the light so that only blue is reflected back into the eyes of the observer. In contrast, the pigments of red and yellow are actually easier to synthesize on a biological level. In a flower, producing a blue pigment actually means absorbing red wavelengths. In order to do this, it requires large complex molecules, which is something not easily done. In the world of minerals and rocks, blue is also rare. The mineral lapis lazuli owes its color to its chemical structure. When using blue from the natural world as pigments for humans, there are various different sources. The earliest use of blue dyes dates back to 7500 BCE, where lapis lazuli was mined in Afghanistan. Another pigment for blue comes from the woad plant, which produced a dark and light blue from a rather complicated process of extraction. Another pigment that was common was indigo, which again comes from a plant. The pigment of ultramarine is actually made from lapis lazuli and is very expensive. It once was more expensive than gold. In Japan, there was a pigment made from the dayflower. In 1744, the indigo market was established in America by a lady called Eliza Lucas, and it flourished for a few decades until land and colonies switched hands and drama of politics happened. In the late 1700s and the early to mid 1800s, synthetic pigments were being produced. In many early languages, blue didn't even exist as a separate word. For the ancient Greeks, blue was seen as a variant of green. For ancient Egyptians, however, it was distinct. They had a word for blue and even had a synthetic pigment known as Egyptian blue. In English, the word blue arrived much later within the language, around the 11th century actually. The rarity of blue made it quite sacred. For example, in Catholicism, blue symbolized purity and heaven. So the Virgin Mary's robes were often painted with ultramarine. In Hinduism, blue belongs to gods of protection, like Vishnu, Rama, or Shiva. In Buddhism, turquoise prayer beads represent spiritual awakening. Blue eyes themselves are quite a rare feature for humanity, today found in only 8% of the world's population. They actually appeared less than 10,000 years ago, most likely from a single genetic mutation. This happened after humans had already migrated out of Africa, but long before the development of fairer skin. Today, blue eyes are most common in countries like Estonia and Finland and Denmark. Blue has seeped into our social hierarchies as well. For example, the phrase blue blood actually dates back to Spain's aristocracy during the Inquisition. Nobles and leaders who had pale skin, you were able to see the blue veins on their skin, and so they became known as blue bloods. In contrast, blue-collar workers actually refers to the denim work shirts of manual labourers. The phrase feeling blue actually comes from an old naval tradition. When a captain died at sea, the ship returned home flying blue flags. In finance, blue chip stocks got their name from poker, where blue chips held the highest value. In our modern world, blue represents trust, stability, and professionalism. It dominates corporate and tech branding, for example. Think about Facebook, LinkedIn, and IBM. They are calm, intelligent, and reliable brands. Even in the corporate world, blue is quite a common colour to wear, both men and women. Overall, blue is a calming colour, the world's favourite, a trusted colour for branding and marketing, and a nice colour to work with as well for interiors and creating artwork. Across time and space, blue has carried many meanings. It's sacred, it's sad, it represents freedom, loyalty, and also intelligence and calm. Perhaps it's why it's our favourite colour, because it has the power to reflect both calm, melancholy, professionalism, and sacredness. Before we finish, I would like to invite you to do a creative activity of your own using the colour blue. Take many different shades of blue, whether they're blue pencils or blue paint, and create a piece of artwork in whatever subject matter you like, in whatever form you like. It can be big, it can be small, but experience blue in all of its tones and shades. If you enjoyed this exploration of blue, please like, subscribe, and share the video. Thank you for watching.